Hey guys, welcome to an early show. I don't do this very often, but I found some free time in the middle of the day. I'll go for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, we'll see. But I will talk about some newly released watches, and I'll finish up, as I promised, um, the rest of the auction review, and that was basically the Sunday session of Phillips in New York City. Um, let's get right into it. I'm hoping that some people from the UK will join up. And for those of you who would like, the link is up there already. I will post it a couple more times. If you would like, you're more than welcome to join the panel. I don't always go live at this time, which is slightly more convenient to you, I'm hoping. Hey, Corrado. So nice to see you, man. Lovely to see you. So let's get right into it. I want to talk about Unimatic first. And this is a brand that I've talked about here on this channel before. They represent a very good alternative, a very good entry point when it comes to watches under $1,000. Increasingly, they have started focusing on watches in collaboration with other brands and in collaboration with other ventures. They present themselves as limited edition watches at any rate, and they have started by now almost exclusively using Swiss movements in their watches, by which they really mean the Sellita pieces, especially the SW200, which was at the core of these two watches they have just released with Messina Lab. One is already sold out, and that was, I think, in a way, the visually more striking one, with this sort of tapisserie dial with a kind of diamond finish. I think by tapisserie, they mean something similar to what you most probably know through the Royal Oak dials. Those are dials that are carved by pantograph machines, meaning that they have a sort of larger example of the same pattern, of the same dial, which the machine traces onto the smaller piece, which becomes, of course, the dial as decorated by that particular machine. So this is the Unimatic Messina Lab U4S BRZ MLL. Both of the watches came with this bronze case, which seems to be ever so popular, especially with dive watches or concepts that at least have the feel or inspiration of dive watches. In this case, of course, this is a veritable dive watch with a 300-meter depth rating, and has a very original kind of khaki green dial. There is an appeal. There's again a vintage-inspired appeal to the yellowed-out patina of the indices that are, of course, super luminova, not actually aged luminous material, which wouldn't surprise you. But I really liked the no-nonsense, bare bones appeal of this particular model. As you can see, the face of the watch also has a kind of sterile appeal, which used to be the case with a lot of actual military issued watches. They lacked, at least some versions of them lacked a particular branding, or they had foregone branding in lieu of the markings of that military provenance. In this case, as you can see, they applied the Unimatic Made in Italy brand, and the depth rating 300 meters equals 1,000 feet in a kind of ghost writing, as they mentioned. So I thought this was a beautiful model, which is not to take away from what they still have available, but this was a great combination, I thought, which has this dial color that they called burnt peat, which I pretty much see as a military green in a tapisserie pattern application, and a kind of cream luminous material which goes hand in hand with the vintage inspiration of the watch. This was their Modello 4 in collaboration with Messina Lab in a bronze case. I'm trying to make sure what the case back is made out of. I think it's titanium. Yes. So the case back, as you see, is not necessarily matched with the bronze case, and is in titanium, and had that matching pattern on the back as well. The model that is still available is U4S BRZ-ML, which is not altogether different from what we have seen with the 99 piece that is already sold out. Has perhaps in this case a more, obviously khaki green dial. The military connection is a little more obvious here and more distilled rather than aestheticized, as with the MLL, the ultra limited edition. But I think the overall aesthetics are really pleasing here too, especially with the matching rubber band, which is something that I appreciate, for example, with my Seiko King Turtle, which has that waffle dial in khaki green that is matched by the Seiko supplied rubber band that comes with the watch. So you have here a beautiful, simple aesthetic, branding on the dial, as well as the tip of that seconds hand resonates with the bronze / gilt tones of the larger aesthetic. And I think the stick-like sword hands are a beautiful fit as well. The watch seems to have very nice luminous material, again in superluminova. And in this case, the titanium case back of this 400 piece limited edition has an octopus design, and both of the brands are represented, namely Messina Lab and Unimatic. Gondog, hey, nice to see you. Yes, it is lovely to see people from the UK and other parts of the world. I managed to take a couple of hours away midday, since I couldn't be live the last few days. I thought I would pay back and try to find a way to be with you guys, at least for a couple of hours. So this is the U4S BRZ ML, the military-inspired bronze diver from Unimatic in collaboration with Messina Lab. And I think it is still available from Messina Lab, as you can see, for $895 US, which I think is a decent deal for a watch with a Swiss movement. Again, the competition is always very tough, especially if you ask someone like me who has been a committed Seiko fanboy for that category. I have a hard time thinking of any other watch under $1,000. But Unimatic is one of those brands that has surprised me, that has impressed me with its aesthetic, if not necessarily with actual experience. I've never owned one of their watches, so my intervention is limited by that, is shaped by that. But I really, really like how their watches look. And I like the fact that they have chosen increasingly to collaborate and experiment with material. And I think for a watch with a Swiss movement, with minimal branding like this, and with a distinctive aesthetic, the price point is very appealing. Again, I was talking about watches that you can perhaps gift to others in the holiday season, watches that don't necessarily have to appeal to watch people. Here you have something that's that can appeal to both, right? What I had in mind, of course, was the Timex Giorgio Galli S1, the second edition of it, especially, that came with that blacked out aesthetic, or the PVD gilt coating. And that's something, of course, that can be a stocking stuffer, as it were. And this is the kind of watch, I think, that can be a stocking stuffer for a watch guy, or for that hipster in your life as well. I think it's a nice concept. I think it's a very coherent design, and it is something that will hopefully age well as well. Word is pending on that, of course. Not all bronze watches are the same. Not all alloys are created equal. So I don't know if the aging on this one will be attractive or not. But in either case, right out of the box, right off the bat, they look amazing. And I think green and this particular bronze tint match really well. Speaking on that, I have just posted as a short the new Chopard Alpine Eagle with the pine green dial and and in rose gold, which is an absolute stunner, but should give you a very general idea. Of course, this is a very different category of a watch, and it's a very different kind of maker, of course. Unimatic is on one end of the spectrum, Chopard quite at another. But between this watch, the Day-Date 40 in Rolex's pink gold Everose and the olive green dial, you should have an idea of how that particular deep shade of green, whether you call it khaki, forest, pine, or whatever else, plays along with a rosy tint of case material. I think it's quite a stunning combination. So whether you are going for something quite luxurious at that end of the spectrum with a pink gold Day-Date with a green dial, or a Chopard Alpine Eagle in pink gold and a green dial with that very distinctive iris design, or this bronze diver by Unimatic and Messina Lab, I think you will, in either case, be very well served. And you see the lifestyle pictures, the lifestyle photography here on Messina Lab really reflects that. Right, kind of like a shacket, or like a military jacket, or like a military fatigue kind of look, which is, how people like to style themselves casually a lot of times. In modern day, that's a very, average, perhaps predictable, but always a very masculine and great look. Like a field jacket and a nice watch like this, you can't go wrong. So here's another stocking stuffer kind of watch that should be a good call for the holiday season. Hey JB, yeah, I look my age again rather than a 60-year-old man. So I appreciate that. It's a nice thing. And look, I mean, one thing I will say about New York is they have great barbers. They have great barbers. A lot of great Dominican people, man. People from the Dominican Republic have a very specific aesthetic touch, I always find, man and woman. So it doesn't surprise me that some great artists and artisans come from the Dominican Republic, and some of them happen to be barbers. Forbin, yes, shacket is it is a kind of lame pun, but I had to use it. I think it's a decent word to use for a cross between a jacket and a shirt. I know it's a little too playful. It's one of those Americanisms that I can't help but indulge in. But yeah, for whatever it is that the gentleman wears in this photo shoot for the Unimatic Messina Lab bronze diver, you can hardly come up with a better name. Saad, man, it's lovely to see you, and JB, welcome to the channel, and Forbin, lovely to see you as well. I don't mind it. I think on younger people, if you're in your 20s, early to mid 20s, why not? It's not for me. I don't think I have enough hair on the top of my head to get a real fade. It would look just funny on me. But yeah, for people who can carry that cut, I think it's a nice thing. I mean, look, you see it on on athletes a lot of times. I think it's a very non-fussy type of haircut for people who play, like, 90-minute games of football. I think for something like that, it's a great choice. Um, so football players, basketball players, professional athletes, I think it's a great choice for them. For young people in their 20s, why not? For me, a fade, it really isn't where it's at. But again, that's neither here nor there. Another watch that I was interested in seeing was the new Mad edition, which is again a very lovely collaboration. Not my style of watch this time around, but for what it marks and for what it represents, I think it's a great effort. So Max Büsser apparently, when he entered the business fresh from university, he was employed with Gégé Lecoutre, and it was apparently Giorgio Corvo, and this shouldn't surprise anyone, an Italian watch dealer who suggested that JLC bring back the Reverso. I've told this story a few times. Apparently, there were like a lot of loose cases of Reversos in the manufacture, which Giorgio Corvo came across and wanted to reintroduce into the Italian market, and that was a very big part of the Reverso revival in the 90s. Of course, another big part of that revival is Günther Blümlein's stewardship of the company and his now ingenious idea of using the Reverso as a canvas to flex all the horological muscles that they could muster in JLC's body. And that has served them really well, at least until the second decade of the 21st century, after which they have maybe scaled a little back in terms of complications, not all the way back, but started focusing a little more on the heritage, the design heritage that the Reverso represents for what Gégé Lecoutre has accomplished in terms of elegance, in terms of beauty, in terms of style, over the near century of that model's existence. Remember, again, the Reverso existed, the Reverso came out in 1931 as an exemplary piece of Art Deco design and as a sports watch of all things. So Giorgio Corvo as well as Max Büsser played their part in reviving that piece of design in the 1990s, and Max Büsser wanted to recognize the importance of his collaborations with Giorgio Corvo, with the Corvo family at large, and came out with this new version of his Mad Edition Max Büsser watch for the Corvo family, 30 pieces for 30 years of friendship, as he calls it. And in a way, and this is by pure coincidence, I didn't choose to present some combination of bronzy, brassy shades on the dial and green on the strap, or something like that. But you can see how winning of a combination that is on the design of this watch as well. Kind of design in reverse, where you have the rotor as the face of the watch, and the exposed movement, of course, shines through with those shades of brass or bronze or whatever you would like to call it. So this is a 30-piece limited edition of Mad One by Maximilian Büsser to commemorate his 30 years of friendship and collaboration with the Corvo family of Milan. Revolution had a piece on it as well. It is the Mad One GMT Milano edition. As you know, it has this quirky representation of time on the case band. And as Orange Hand says, green and gold, once again, happens to be a winning combination on this particular watch, too. Now, I don't even know if this watch is available anywhere else except for Milano, but at least it represents another example of Max Büsser living up to that ideal that is represented in the name of his brand, right? MB&F, which is Max Büsser and Friends. So in the future, I think we can expect more collaborations like these, which are perhaps made accessible to a greater variety of people, a broader base of people who may not be able to afford one of the mainline MB&F products, MB&F watches, which have, of course, been by now very widely recognized and very well feted at this point, right? It was, I don't think it struck anyone as a surprise when in the 2002 edition, you actually had the MB&F Legacy Machine Sequential Evo, which is their very beautiful and innovative take on the chronograph. It didn't surprise anyone, I think, that that piece won the Aiguille d'Or, which is, of course, the grand prize of all grand prizes in the Grand Prix d'Horlogerie de Genève, GPHG. So that was another new watch that I thought that I would recognize on this show. And Revolution, again, continues its collaborations with micro brands. Of course, Wei-Ko now has another venture, maybe still under the umbrella of the Revolution magazine, maybe still loosely associated with Revolution magazine, but goes by the name Grail Watch. And those are usually more ambitious projects, collaborations with perhaps brands that are from another segment of watches. But in terms of Revolution magazine, he still continues to collaborate with micro brands, with more accessible brands, with pricing that is perhaps also for that reason appealing to a broader spectrum of people. He has done that recently with Nevada Granson, for example, and he's now doing it with Jacques Bianchi from Marseille. This is a limited edition of JB 200 Méduse. Again, at the end of the day, what we have is another vintage inspired diver. Something, of course, that has very much its own aesthetics. Right, I like the destro look, the kind of right hand look, which of course has a practical aspect to it, especially in a dive watch, especially in a so-called tool watch, right? You want to be a little more dynamic, a little more mobile, a little more active with your watch wearing hand. Obviously, you don't want the crown to necessarily dig into your wrist, into the bone of your wrist or the back of your hand. And with dive watches specifically, you tend to have larger crowns, crowns that should be amenable and available to grab and adjust your watch, wind your watch if it's necessary. So in this case, having the crown on the reverse side, on the left band of the case rather than the right flank, actually makes sense. And of course, Jacques Bianchi's divers have this prominent drawing of a diver in the middle of it, which in this case is itself also luminous in a way that is distinguished from the indices of the case, as well as a fully graduated and fully luminous rotational bezel, which light up in green rather than the teal/blue shade of the diver prominently displayed in the middle of the face. Well, knowing a little bit about Wei Ko's sense of humor, I would think that that's probably intentional. Hey, Saad, how are you doing, man?
Hello, Lord. How are you? I will not take a lot of your time. I just want to know your opinion on this also. Is that whenever somebody asks me or asks this question from the panels that if they have a budget of $2,000 to $3,000 for a watch, what comes to my mind always is that instead of going for um, a new watch but a shitter brand, you can get yourself vintage date just or something, or just a head from Rolex, any Rolex head of good condition, and get a leather strap on that. At least you have a good watch. Yeah.
I think it's not either or. I think it's a question that has at least two legitimate answers. If you are Look, when you're buying a gift for someone else, unless that person is really close to you, and um, unless you know that person to be a watch person, they might not necessarily appreciate a gift, a secondhand watch as a gift. Now, I would be overjoyed if someone got me a vintage Oyster Perpetual or a vintage Datejust or Omega's first self-winding Bond Seamaster, so on and so forth. These are watches that I constantly push people towards when they're looking for their first vintage or neo-vintage watch. If you have a budget, like you said, Saad, of $2,000 to $3,000, or under 3,500, let's say, and you want to buy yourself a quality watch, or you want to simply start dipping your toes into the vintage or neo-vintage segment, I agree with you 100%. I would direct them towards vintage Datejust. I would direct them towards um, an Omega Seamaster from the 90s. They can either go for the Bond in the self-winding version, or they can go with the 50th anniversary, which is a beautiful watch and a very unique watch with the GMT function. Or if they have a little bit more money, they can go with a Speedmaster of some sort, right? I think that is, for me, no question. Now, when it comes to the segments that is $1,000 or below, or if you are looking at gifting someone else a watch, and that someone else is not a watch person or not necessarily a close family member, then
Yeah.
I would rather direct my audience to get something new, something that is interesting from a design perspective, maybe not necessarily from a horological or historical perspective, something that may not be a Rolex or Omega, but would certainly perform and serve well the owner or the wearer on a day-to-day basis. So I think I agree with both. It's just who you are buying it for. If you're buying it for yourself, are you ready to actually buy a used watch? Some people are not. Some people will never get over that barrier. They want something new, either for themselves or as a gift.
Yes, I 100% understand and agree to what you're saying. The only thing is, audience, these days inclined towards the Instagram, influence. So they also prefer the logo of Rolex whenever they see, a watch with a Rolex brand on it. Even if it's in used condition, they don't have any problem anymore. So it's all about, showing off and telling others that I have a Rolex watch on my wrist. So, but I 100% understand to what you have said now. Um, New product is very different than something used, and some people get offended when they find that they have been gifted something which is a pre-owned product. So, um, I thank you for allowing me to your stream. I just wanted to understand this point. Thank you so much, Lord.
Thank you, man. I mean, again, thank you for helping me clarify what I'm trying to say, because I don't think I ever failed to direct people and Eric Wind also helped me doing this, right? One of the many questions that I asked Eric with the two conversations that we had on this channel um, was like, what do you suggest to people who want to buy their first vintage watch, or who want to start dipping their toes in the pre-owned category? And it's either a Rolex Datejust or an Omega Speedmaster. That's the answers that we keep coming up with. And in a way, it's a fail-safe option. But like you said, in today's social media landscape, when it comes to watches, these are not the watches who would impress anyone. These are not the watches that will, that will get the most likes necessarily. Mostly because they are predictable, mostly because they're all too common. But sometimes you're served well with a known quantity, with a known commodity, and that's where lasting value comes in. And I will easily say that probably still to this day, one of the most versatile watches in the planet is a 4 or 5 digit Datejust in stainless steel with a white gold bezel on a classic Jubilee bracelet. You can take that watch anywhere, wear it anywhere, without risking anything or much, and it will be appropriate for any occasion whatsoever.
Yes. Lord, if you have time, can I share one more information with you regarding Rolex? I was studying a, a date, back in 60s and, 50s or 60s, I would say, Rolex was not too much, strict about references and paperworks and things like that. So I read about a date. What happened was the date originally came with a smooth bezel. So the customer, a customer, what he did was he gave the Rolex to upgrade that watch
Mhm.
to a diamond bezel. Now, what happens is when you um, go with a diamond bezel, you know that the reference number changes, right? Diamond bezels have different reference numbers. So what Rolex did was they stamped a new reference number to that same watch. So that watch had two reference numbers, and the second reference number was stamped on the case back. So the case back had two reference numbers. Now you can see that watch on Philips auction. If you Google Rolex 6613 Philips, you can find that watch. It is interesting. Maybe the audience can have some new information also.
Let's take a look at that. Um, Let me see. So Rolex, what was it? Say that reference number again.
6613
661.
Philips. Philips.
That's a watch that was sold in 2020, maybe.
I
Yes.
think so. Yeah, with the black dial, it's yes,
That's
exactly this one. So
it's
now,
a
Lord,
it's a
yeah,
plat.
yeah, it's a platinum watch.
Wow, this is really a gorgeous day.
So now there are very a few unique points about this watch. Um, the dial is very unique, but the most unique thing is the case back. When you click on this image, yes, the case back image, you will see, yeah, this is circa 1959. You see there are two reference numbers. The original one was 1612, 6612, sorry. Now when the watch was upgraded with the diamond bezel. It was upgraded to 6613. So this watch is unique in a way that it has two reference numbers. So there will be other watches also with the same mechanism of having two reference numbers.
Look at that. Look at the inside of that clasp and how crisp it is.
Yeah, yeah,
And this is a watch from 1959 and photographed here just 2 years ago in 2020.
yeah,
Wow, man. Um, a platinum day date from the 50s, from the late 50s, that came with a smooth bezel and a factory diamond set black dial, which I think is a beautiful contrast. Of
yeah,
course, a black dial on a Rolex might seem otherwise, quite ordinary, but I think on a platinum day date, it's just a great contrast. I don't think they had introduced the ice blue exclusive at that time just yet for their platinum watches. And the watch
yeah.
has a very elegant, but also in a way a unique and dynamic look, thanks to those alpha hands and the black dial. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful.
the dial has a somewhat larger than usual crown. On the Rolex dial is the crown is very large. Yes, this crown. Yeah, and the date does not have a dash in between them, and the diamonds are unusual. Round diamonds. So it is
Yeah,
it looks to be a special order kind of a thing.
yeah, and of course it had the diamond indices and luminous dots as well,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, of
Yes.
course, which have long expired and must have been radium, considering
Yeah.
the date. Wow. Thank you for sharing this, Saad. And this is a piece that sold for 87,500 Swiss francs in the Geneva Watch Auction number 11 by Philips in 2020. Wowzers. Whew.
Every
Um,
day you find a new information on these watches which you have never read before. So this is why I say that nobody is uh, you can say the king of these watches. um, there is always something new to learn about these things.
of course, of course. I mean, I don't think, look, when it comes to I think you can. I know, for example, Dr. Helmut Koch wrote an entire book about the watch dial as such. It's just called the dial in French, le cadran. I think you can write an entire book on case backs with everything that Rolex has done with them. But that being said, I don't think I have seen many examples of a double stamped case back that has two different reference numbers. You see all the time the same case back used for multiple references, but a lot of times it the inscription in it or on it doesn't necessarily change. This is something unique.
Yeah. Yeah, and this watch was serviced back in 2019. If you can open the second, yeah, image, you can see the card is there. It has written October 2019 on it. So, and the reference number there is 6612/6. So they have mentioned the original reference number, which was original with the watch when it came. As a new watch, and oblique 6 means that it is a platinum material. So from the Rolex archives, I still think that they believe that this is a 6612, but upgraded to 6613. So again, a very unique example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an amazing watch, and I love the president bracelet from the time, and in platinum it looks even better. I mean, I love white gold day dates, but I guess I wouldn't say no to a platinum one either.
Yeah. Platinum is much better, I would say, uh, especially in this era, because, you know, I think that they had rhodium plated those white gold back in the day. So especially the Bezel had that those problem. If you see those white gold date, just the you could see the rhodium being worn from the white gold bezels. So they used to have this problem. Then they sorted out that in
And
the
I have to say this as well. It's not always easy to judge the quality of diamonds from photographs, but as much as these photographs testify, both the diamonds on the dial and the bezel seem to be
very
off
high quality.
order.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic piece. Look at how it looks on the wrist too. I know some people have very strong feelings against diamonds or gem setting in general on these kinds of watches, but I think this is an absolute killer. Wow. And again, the bracelet, the bracelet seems crisp. I mean, this must be the factory finish, right? You
Yeah,
see the difference between the surface and the bevels on the side. What were you saying, Saad?
yes, this doesn't seem to be too much worn. It's I would say a mint condition watch. Uh, Knowing the fact that, oh, I'll famous professor, how are you, sir? So
Hello,
nice to see
sirs.
you. We are looking at
Yeah,
a very interesting watch here. It's a very
yeah.
interesting watch.
Hey, Professor. Nice to see you.
Hey, Lord.
I wanted to have an earlier live today, at least until 4 or something, so I can have some people from the UK, and of course, I had you in mind too. Is it freezing?
It's very freezing, guys. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I have emergency here.
It's a matching set.
Yeah,
Speaking
it's
of
a
stocking stuffers, someone got you a nice gift, it seems.
yeah. And then I have the gloves. I mean, this is ridiculous here. It's very cold.
And of course, with the economic crisis, you can't really afford heating either. It's
No,
miserable, miserable. It's
no,
not. Wow, man. I feel, guys, I really do feel for you. By the way, just so you guys know, this watch that Saad shared with us, which was lot number 83 from the Geneva Watch Auction 11 by Philips in 2020, is also photographed in John Goldberger's book that was called, well, another example of the 6613, my apologies, is photographed in 100 superlative Rolex watches by Goldberger, and it's referenced here as page 163.
Mm.
And these were the three distinct references at the time: 6611 featuring ribbed bezel, 6612 featuring smooth bezel, which is believed to be the original version of this watch, and 6613, which features the diamond set bezel, and this seems to be a watch that started its life as 6612 and was converted in the manufacturer by Rolex to a 6613. Very interesting and cool. Professor, how are you doing?
Yeah, okay. I'm observing all the developments. I'm very happy to see you and very happy to see Saad as well.
Thank you, Professor. Same here.
I have a question for you guys.
Yes, sir.
It has to do with Saad's preferred subject or preferred watches within the Rolex domain, and it's the dates. And this is the question. So I've asked different people, amongst them my wife and my two kids, my mom and my aunt. So now I'm going to extend to the my friends and confidants. So I consider you to be my confidants, um, because outside in my circle of work, if I go and ask them the same question, they'll probably throw the table at me, because they think about numbers and stuff. And so here's the question about the dates. If you have one only watch to buy, I know in the past I've said it's the platinum 40 millimeter. But if you had to choose amongst the three or four, amongst the platinum, amongst the date yellow gold green dial 40 millimeter, and another one, the Eisenkiesel rose gold 40 millimeter, and finally the Daytona. I forgot that one because we had a conversation with Ozzy, expat, as you remember, Lord, last week.
Right.
He seems to also have a liking on the Daytona platinum. Which one would you prefer as your one and done watch?
I will let Saad go first.
Um, my personal vote will go for the platinum version of the date. I won't go for the look. My objective will not be for making money uh, for the watch for
I
myself
agree.
only. This is the prime objective. It's like selling yourself while making money on watch. Yeah, I would say like that, right? If you're having one and done watch. So the thing is, I would buy myself a platinum day date, which is this one, 228236. This I would say is the best reference number. You will not make any, this is not an investment piece or anything, but this is the one and done. Ethan Kiesel is a very rare watch to get, very difficult watch. Professor, I know you can get it easily, but I personally think platinum is the best watch one can get. It's one and done watch. Daytona is a casual watch. Um, I have one in steel. I do like it, but I personally don't. It's for me. It's not a one and done watch. You know. And I also have a day date, but yellow gold in green dial, but it's in 36 millimeter. If you remember, they used to have green dial in 36 millimeter for a very limited amount of time. I love that watch, but again, if I get a platinum version, then that is more superior than the yellow gold.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so
Thank
let's
you.
start with eliminating the Eisenkiesel. Cool name. You know, you mention a German word, my ears perk up, and it's usually in a positive way. But it reminds me of this beautiful cover by Metallica for an album suggestively named Load. And the substance is rumored to be a mix of semen and blood. That's what the Eisenkiesel dial looks like to me. Uh,
Okay, I like that.
like with semen and blood on the face of your watch.
Well, you need a lot of sweat to make the money for the
That's true.
watch.
That's true. Blood gives a whole new meaning to blood, semen, and tears. Um, so that's out for me. But joking aside, I think I mean, again, Saad, you know how much I love you. I don't need to prove anything to you. But with all due respect for a one and done, I would much prefer a Daytona. If you can get your hands on it, I think the platinum Daytona is actually the definition of a one and done. It's an ultimate heavy hitter, hit and quit, whatever you want to call it. One watch, um, holy grail. I think it checks all the boxes. It checks all the boxes when it comes to a watch. It's distinguished, it's prestigious, it's an iconic sports model, and it is in the most precious material that Rolex has in its lineup, with the exclusive dial, just like the Day-Date.
Hmm. You know, Lord and Saad, what I like about this watch, the Daytona, is that it doesn't stand out as a Rolex. I mean, for those who know it, of course, it stands out, but it's not like the fluted bezel with the cyclops that kind of makes it apparent to those who would know a little bit more that it's a Rolex. Um, Obviously, with this one, with my gray eyes, I wouldn't be able to tell the time because as I'm looking at it now, I can't really see what what time it shows. Although I know all of them show 10 past 10, it's really difficult. So probably you wear it not to see time like most watches.
Well, also, why not start a poll as well? Let's put this
Great
to
idea.
a which piece is a better one and done watch? Uh, platinum Day-Date 40 or platinum Daytona. Okay, I I'll I can't vote with my original account since I am starting the poll, but I will go in with my troll account and cast my vote, which is for the Platinum Daytona. And I invite everyone else to do it as well. Just 1 second. I do need to take this call.
No problem.
Sure, sure.
Okay. So, Professor, the thing is, with the Platinum Daytona or any Daytona, from 20 years or more, we know that, it's something, if you get at retail, you are automatically, it's like a lottery ticket you have won if you have gotten at retail. So it's a perception in our mind that, Daytona is a better watch than other Rolex watches just because of, um, that aspect of huge difference between retail value and gray market value. So that is one hidden element that we have in our mind which makes these watches something of a better watch than other models. This is one thing. Other is, due to the world is now more towards casualization than than we used to be before, of wearing suits and nice ties and
Mm,
tuxedos and stuff. We are more into wearing jeans and stuff. So in that way, um, uh, Daytonas and Submariners and these casual watches are more into trend. So this is why dress watches and date just and day dates, these kind of things, are no more into fashion, or I would say in trend. But if you ask me, w- one when if somebody asks you what is the true definition of Rolex watch, when somebody asks you what is a Rolex watch, then the first thing that comes to my mind is Cyclops and a fluted bezel.
Uh, Cyclops above all, for sure. I can't disagree with that. It's fluted bezel. I have, yeah, I have my thoughts. I mean, for me, I think smooth bezel was always, except for perhaps something like an Explorer, for me, something always seemed off about it. Maybe off is not the right word, but lacking in a way. So I like the fluted. I even like the engine turned, old stainless steel versions of it on the date chest as well. Um, but yeah, Cyclops seems to be for the average person, for the general public, the
mm.
the visual hint, the visual mark of a Rolex at the end of the day. I just wanted to read something by Eric L., who is also one of the long-standing supporters of this channel. He says, "Hi, folks, casting my vote for the day date because that chocolate and ice blue mix of the Daytona would be hard for me to match with my wardrobe. Man, that's not a watch that you expect to match the rest of your wardrobe. You expect it to take over your entire personality, Eric. You will be forever known as the guy who wears a platinum Daytona. Who cares about anything else that you wear? Um, but I mean, joking aside, it's a statement watch. So obviously, the idea is not necessarily to match it with anything else. It will play its own own role. It will, I think, overtake in many ways. Even the date, I mean, platinum day date, you think that's a subtle watch? It might not have the chocolate colored bezel, which by the way is more maroon, so it's kind of like a deep burgundy in person than anything else. But yeah, what do you think, Professor?
Well, I mean, I think we have reached a conclusion on the metal, so it has to be platinum. So
Platinum.
it's at platinum. So it's either platinum day date or platinum Daytona. So that's good. One issue, one good issue about the day date is the bracelet. I find the Daytona, the oyster bracelet. If you wear one, which I have been for since 2008, the same watch, the oyster one, you kind of get tired, and you say, okay, now it's going to be the same kind of color, more or less, with the same oyster bracelet. Whereas the president bracelet is different, and it gives a little bit of a of a jewelry feel. Because for me, the watch, I never look at the time anymore. I hardly look at my watch, although I wear it day and night. I sleep with it, shower with it, you know. Um, but I never look at the time. So for me, the day date is something I tend to go more. But the Daytona is appealing only because it doesn't have this, the bezel and the Cyclops, which kind of gives it away. But at the end of the day, we do live in times where people try to um, understate their wealth at times of downward spiral in the global economy. But so they said the same about the steel Pateks. I remember 6, 7 years ago, they would say that, oh, billionaires are wearing Nautiluses because they're trying to be subtle. And then that whole theme was thrown out of the window, and then it became ostentatious, conspicuous consumption and all that. So I'm not sure. You kind of buy the. I always tuck my watches under the sleeve, so nobody knows if I'm even wearing a watch. Of course, if you're wearing a saucepan or a panerai, obviously you cannot tuck it for too long. So I am vacillating, as they say, between the two. There isn't much of a price difference. I mean, if you have 65,000 bucks for the day date, more or less, you'll have another 10 for the Daytona. But soon some discounts will appear, and plus, if you get it from a tax-free, duty-free country, you can save maybe 10 to 12% depending the country that you're in.
But I think that goes for the day date. I don't think even the platinum Daytona is ever coming back as a discounted watch, not anytime soon anyways. But I mean, look, you know these things better than I do, and
Yeah.
you have more experience, professor, so I will defer to your expertise, but
No,
I
you're right. You're right.
Daytona
You're
is
right
coming
about
back as
this.
a discounted watch. So it
No, both watches. Yeah, to add to your point, of course, you're right. You cannot get them the yellow and the rose or the ever rose. You can get them on a discount, or eventually you will get them in 2023. I can guarantee you that. The way we're headed, I mean, we're clearly going to see discounts. On the platinum pieces, it's difficult because you need to order them. They need to tell you, well, I don't know, come back. Of course, if they know you, you will get it in a few months. They don't have it in a vault and they present it to you, unless they are in a very centrally located AD, but it won't be one of your, you know, ADs like this. I mean, yeah, they don't produce it in large numbers, obviously. Um, but you can still get the duty free, right? You won't get the whole duty free because that's partially a scam as well. You don't get, the VAT back. So if the VAT is 20%, you're not going to get 20% back. You'll only get around 10 to 12 because there is commission for the middlemen, the intermediaries who provide the duty free. But at least you get a 10% discount. So on a $70,000 watch, you'll get a significant amount back as cash back eventually at your point of exit, which is the airports. Usually when people travel, yeah.
Yeah, I think having in the past found a lot of these precious metal watches sitting in a case somewhere, in some other corner of the world, I can certainly see a comeback to that scenario. Again, platinum watches, like you said, platinum Rolexes specifically, are usually ordered, as a special case. So that might be a little different. But when it comes to your old, day dates 40 in Ever Rose or in white gold or in whatever else, I think those you can probably by next year you should be able to get either discounted at your local AD or with the duty-free option from somewhere else, some other country abroad.
Now, Lord, let's compare yellow
Yes.
gold day date versus yellow gold Daytona. What's your preference on that, and Professor?
Yellow date Daytona with yellow yellow gold Daytona with yellow gold day date.
Yeah, versus, yeah, both green dial.
Green dial.
Yes,
Oh,
both are very rare to get. Both have premium on them.
yes. So one is the guitar player watch, right?
Yeah, John Mayer, as people like to call it.
Yeah. Okay. One is the guitar guy, and then the other one is nobody has given it a name. So it's the orphan watch.
Yeah, orphan watch.
Um, so I prefer. I know you guys. I'm unconventional. I would prefer the green day date and not the Daytona, the green Daytona.
What about you, Lord?
Strictly between these two, I would also go with the yellow gold day date 228 238 with the new green dial. I don't know what they call it. Mint green, maybe is one way to put it.
This is basically, Lord.
Both,
Uh,
it's like the Stella dials. It's
yeah,
like the Stella
yeah,
green, record green.
100%. Very beautiful. Yeah.
Ah, this is a beautiful watch. The previous one is a beautiful watch, and I can tell you that it has the same difficulty to order it as the other pieces. The green one is not uh, produced in large numbers. And I think it's an unclaimed watch. Nobody has claimed it in terms of names. So the other one is the whatever John whatever watch, and this one yet remains to be claimed because there is nobody famous who wears it to promote it, and so it gives a name. But this is the green Rolex color, and Rolex is very fussy about its green. I think it's a beautiful watch. I think it's a beautiful watch, Sad.
Yes, super chat from Roger.
Dodger, thank you so much. That's for 50 zloty. Sorry for my Polish pronunciation. I don't think it's up to par. Just to say hello, old friend, from Mr. and Mrs. Dodger, the power couple. I miss you guys. I miss you guys. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your generous super chat. Whole Milk says young Brando, more like a young soprano with a gold day date. Hey man, I wouldn't, again, day date is not necessarily my genre of watches, especially when I grow out my hair in those stupid patrician locks. With a gold watch, I look exactly like a sugar daddy, which is an image that I'm trying to push away. But I wouldn't. Yeah, who would turn away a classic day date? I think day date 36 I like even more. I would certainly go with something like 1803, 18038, or 18238 all day with a champagne dial. That's a beautiful watch. And between these two, this would be my choice. If I'm given a little bit of a leeway, because remember again, the so-called John Mayer, um, as well as the ceramic Daytonas, the stainless steel with ceramic bezel Daytonas, came out at the same time as this particular watch. Let me bring it up. Yes. So if I'm given the option, I would choose this over both of those, both the yellow gold day date with the new Stella green dial or the John Mayer. I would go with this white gold with the ink blue dial and red accents. That's what I would go for. Because it's white metal. I mean, it's again, no one is going to look away, from a Daytona. It's still going to be a little too attention catching for my taste, and probably the bad kind of attention too, because again, it's a Daytona. You don't want really people to spot you in public for wearing an expensive watch at this point in time. But I would choose this.
Lord, can I tell you something?
Yes,
You
sir.
know, you should be thankful that you have a body of a normal human being. You should be very thankful for that. Uh, by that I mean is 36. You can wear 36 millimeter and it looks perfect on you. And to be very honest, I have um, a 30. I have a 41 millimeter date chest, and I don't wear it because it. Even though I am on the bigger side, I still don't like that watch. I have a 40 millimeter Daytona, and I don't like it. Somehow 36 millimeter still looks good to me ratio wise. I don't know why, but it looks good to me. I used to have a date 8 in 40 white gold, and it looked little bit weird to me. So the thing is, everything has a ratio, you know, bigger is not always better. So I see when you naturally, when you are moving your hand, I see a 36 millimeter watch on your wrist. It looks it looks like it is built for your wrist, you know.
Yeah, this is like this used to be a jumbo in its time, right? This is a 37 millimeter stainless steel universal tricomplex, and it's perfect. It's just the right proportion, like you said.
Yeah, even a 36 millimeter that you wear looks perfect on you. Hello, Thomas.
Hi guys, hi Sad. I just wanted to just get a bit of education from you on day dates, seeing as you're on the show.
Sure.
You're the general of day dates, so I need an education.
It's
Hi
an honor
Professor,
to talk
good
to
to
you
see you.
always.
Hi Ingranda, good to see you.
What do you guys say about this watch? Let's see. I don't know if it comes with just stick markers rather than diamonds, which I don't mind again. But
This watch, yeah, this
36,
is
day date
yeah,
36.
yeah. This is a very, very rare to find watch. In yellow gold, they have turquoise stone. This one, they also have a malachite in yellow gold, and in white gold, they have lapis. All of these are in 36 millimeter. So they have these Roman markers with diamonds on them. It is not available in stick markers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sad, do you prefer the 36 original size or do you prefer a 40 or 41?
Thomas, it depends upon the wrist size. As I was telling this to Lord, that he has a normal wrist size, as one should have. A normal human being should have a normal. Once you start eating KFCs and these cheeseburgers, of even a 50 millimeter, you cannot hide behind these big ass watches. So
Yeah.
it's not that you should start eating and then buy a big watch and you think that you look good. you know uh, Everything has a limit in life. So I think 36, 37 millimeter looks okay on a normal size, and you also look perfectly well built person. So I think 36 will also look fine on you too. I would say, yeah.
What do you prefer yourself, though, personally?
I have 4 or 5 watches which is 36 millimeter, and I'm happy with them. No problem at all.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. And the good thing about 36 is that it has a best resale value because it's considered to be a unisex watch. So women are also interested in them. And also, another good advantage is that you get to have lot of dial variety on these watches, the 36 millimeter day dates.
What's your favorite sort of dial then? The sodalite dials, the stone dials, the uh,
Thomas, there are too many dials, my
yeah,
favorite dials. So
yeah,
I cannot say one day it's the bloodstone that I love, other day it's the lapis, then it's malachite, then it's
sure,
onyx. So, every day there is a new dial that I want.
of
Yeah,
course,
it's limitless. Yeah.
yeah.
This doesn't look half bad either. The blue ombre, like kind of a smoked or
Ye-
fumé blue dial on the white. That's diamond set.
Yes, they make this for the 36. Yeah. For the yellow gold, they make this in green color.
Hey, J Junior Johnson from Michigan, $5. Thank you so much, Junior.
Good to see you, JJ.
Dodger appreciates the day date knowledge that Saad brings to the panel, and of course, Professor and
Absolutely,
Thomas as
yeah.
well.
Thomas is the king of kings, man. I'm a huge
Oh,
fan of
no, no,
Thomas.
no.
I have always been listening to Thomas for years and years. He's the king of kings.
No, you are sad. You are. This is why I joined. I wanted to hear your
Thank you,
take.
Tom.
Wanted to discuss more of your take on day dates. You're the king of day dates when it comes to day date. I voted for the day date rather than the Platona myself, but it's not a watch. There was a comment earlier on. Could you wear it on a NATO strap? No, you can't. You can't. You can't wear this on a NATO strap. I think the Platona could go more under the radar because it could be seen as a steel watch rather than a gold watch. But the platinum Daytona could go more under the radar as well, I think. But the fluted bezel would give it away to someone wanting to steal it.
Yeah, yeah. And these are serious watches. I think it's like if you put a NATO strap on these day dates, it's like, wearing a tuxedo jacket, but you're wearing a, uh,
Wearing a pair of sneakers with it, yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's so
yeah,
odd.
yeah.
Um, Mm, it just looks too wrong,
Yeah,
wearing a
I know.
NATO strap on. It's a serious watch. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Do you like the white gold yourself, or the platinum, or do you prefer the yellow gold?
My first, if I have unlimited amount of money, like I have a taste like a professor, we both like platinum. I have yellow golds, but the thing is, somehow I am more towards platinum now. So my first priority is to somehow get a platinum watch if finances allow me to do that. For now, it's not possible, but in the near future, if it's possible, then I'll go for the platinum. But second priority is to get yellow gold. Second priority is always yellow gold, because the true color of gold is yellow. It's not rose.
Yes. I'm much more rose gold fan than a yellow gold fan, I must admit.
Yeah, rose gold is also very, very beautiful, but white gold is my least favorite in them. Yeah,
Mm. Um, yeah,
because yeah.
I'm a little conflicted. I mean, here's what I will say. I do like pink gold. Um, it has been really popular. It has been really hyped up. I don't know if anyone remembers this moment, but when Apple started offering rose gold as an option on their devices, whether we're talking about the laptops or the smartphones, and it became so popular and so popular among men that people started jokingly calling it the bros gold. So in a way, as much as I love that particular shade, um, I'm also a little conflicted about it. I think I really do like white gold because it's it's much more subtle in a way. It doesn't need to necessarily exhibit its value, its worth. It doesn't need to scream it from the mountaintops. Of course, when you're wearing a luxury watch, a lot of this falls off. But from a less recognizable brand, when we are not talking about Rolex or Patek, but still, something of that um, level in terms of horological prestige. Like for me, for example, Lange 1 in white gold, or better yet, Datograph in platinum, that seems to me like the height of a lot of different segments. That would be my preference. If I got a Lange 1 one day, I would most certainly want it in white gold because I think that's a much more subtle statement. And in the same way, I like the fact that the datograph is in either platinum or pink gold. And as much as I like the contrast between the pink gold and the black dial, I really do prefer it in platinum.
Yeah, I mean, I find it Daytona as illegible as it is, and I think the platinum, these ones on the Oyster Flex, I like the most, and I do like the rose gold with the chocolate dial, I must admit, and I do like the white gold that you've got up, or the platinum. Sorry, but that one I just find gorgeous.
Yeah, honestly, I do have a soft spot for precious metal Daytonas on the Oyster Flex. I think it's a great contrast.
Yeah,
Like kind of a cognitive dissonance in a positive sense. The rubber band against the precious metal case. And the endlings, I think, actually play a very crucial role here, which is something that my friend Aussie expat has really alerted me, really drawn my attention, in the sense, especially when you have a ceramic bezel like this, you have the black of the rubber band, and then you have here that minimal contrast and visual divider off the solid end link, and then the black ceramic bezel with its pink gold accents as well. I think this is a very balanced and beautiful watch.
Yeah, I think that's why I like the Yachtmaster 42 and the things like the Aquanaut, because they got that rubber strap, contrasting with precious metals or steel. You know, precious metals we're talking about here, and yeah, I think there really are places for watches with rubber straps to really look sporty but look jewelry like as well. Look a lot. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the words. Look special. Look a lot more special and jewelry like, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I had this on my Instagram, but I don't. I thought I had a photo of me at some point trying on a 5167R at Tiffany's in Beverly Hills, but I don't actually have it. That was an interesting watch. I think, again, I like the Aquanaut better than the Nautilus, even though overall
Me too.
I'm not a huge fan of either one of those designs, but especially the Aquanaut in pink gold is a very attractive watch.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Sir? Are you a fan of the rubber strap look or not? You're more traditionalist, aren't you?
I'm more into metal bracelets, Thomas, or I might like the leather straps maybe on the Daytona. If you remember, they used to do the leather straps on these watches, even on the Zenith. Both of them looked exactly similar. Only the subdials had, different positions. Other than that, both had polished lugs on them. So I like that watch. One of my friend has it. Not too much into rubber straps. Um, but I haven't tried them, so I'm not 100% sure about it. I think St. Peter has commented that wish Rolex would sell a yellow gold Daytona with black mother of pearl dial and baguette diamond indices. They they used to, or maybe still do, the Haitian dial, black mother of pearl dial, but no, not with baguettes, but with round diamonds. Uh, that's old dial that they have been doing for many years. There's nothing special about that.
Yeah, well, I guess this is a good point to say that, as much as I adore and appreciate the configurator that Rolex has on its website, it doesn't always represent every single option that they have available. They do have always, some other dials available and not necessarily discontinued, but also not represented on the web page. So, if you're ordering at this segment, I'm sure you have an in with your authorized dealer where you can probably make a different choice as long as they still have it available.
Like, I can give St. Peter a live example right now. There is a day date that it's still in production, and they don't have that in on their website. There are many watches that they don't, present on the website, but they have it in production. So the website is just a preview of some of the models that they do. Or I would say, thank you so much, Thomas Burnett, for the super chat. Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. Thomas Burnett, 449 pounds sterling from JL because he can't super chat. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, JL. A big shout out to everyone watching. Give young Brando a thumbs up. Thank you. Hope you will all have a great Christmas. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone. I appreciate it.
So this dial was, I think, is still a very, very famous dial. I think this is called a Paul Newman dial of the recent times. This dial they used to do on the old models also, the 116528 version of the Daytona with the metal bracelet. And I think this will be a future collector item, this specific model. Uh, I think.
Yeah, I think in a way it's like it's similar to what they call the JPS, Jump Player Special, maybe
Yeah, yeah, the
from
racing car. Yeah,
from vintage Daytonas. It has its own character. The red accents, I think, really make this particular watch. I think this is also offered on a full bracelet too, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yes, 116508. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah, right here. I think honestly, again, not that there's anything wrong with this watch in this particular form. I think there's a little bit more contrast and a little bit of a lighter mood when you introduce the Oyster Flex band. But yeah, it's a beautiful watch nonetheless, and either way.
the only problem, Thomas may agree with me, is on the oyster metal bracelets, especially with the polished center links, is that it is a scratch nightmare. We have a super chat from Curly Q.
Curly Q, thank you, and
Hey,
thank you
Curly.
for sharing your beautiful dog as well. Professor Thomas, happy holidays to you and yours. Happy holidays, everyone. Hey, we don't have any Muslim holidays coming up, Saad, at this time of the year, unfortunately.
No.
No, but I do celebrate Christmas. I have a beautiful Christmas tree and I will light it. You know, I do celebrate all the, festivals. I
Nice,
respect them. Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful.
So
And
I was talking about the, sorry? Yeah.
New Year's is a new beginning. It's a turn of the page for everyone. So that is coming up.
Yes, exactly.
I interrupted you, but go ahead. Go ahead, man.
So the problem I believe with the oyster bracelet is especially if you have a gold bracelet or the two-tone bracelet with the polished center links is you cannot avoid scratches and Lord, the scratches look so ugly. One thing is, some people tell you that don't worry about the scratches, but those scratches, they looks like you have put sandpaper on them. It has some
Hmm.
ugly look to them. So that is why I personally don't buy watches with oyster bracelet, which are um, which have gold solid center links. So um,
I think even in stainless steel, already in the 5-digit reference 16520, they had introduced the polished centerlink bracelets for the Daytona, and even with stainless steel, those polished center links are a real scratch magnet. But you can make the argument on a stainless steel sports watch, even when it's a luxurious one, that it kind of goes with the look, a little bit of burnish, a little bit of wabi sabi goes a long
that
way. It's fine,
that
but
looks fine. Yeah.
with precious metal, like you said, when you have a full oyster bracelet with polished center links, you probably you probably want that to remain as immaculate as possible, right?
Yeah, now the strange thing is I have a 116520, and it also has a polished center links, the steel one, and it does not get scratches as bad. We know that it's it is a polished center link, and it may get scratches, but it's a steel watch, of course. But it is a problem free, maintenance free type of a watch. If you get a Daytona, in stainless steel. So but this watch, I would say, it's a nightmare, mare if you wear it daily. All the time you will be having problems with, especially with the bezel also. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just firing away. What do you think to? I mean, I agree with Professor that that they're a bit illegible, Daytonas, and I've been looking at pre-Daytonas. I don't know whether Lord wants to share my screen that I'm just pulling up at the moment.
Yeah, man, 6238. That's
Yeah, 6238. I mean, this is 36 millimeters. I think this is from
That's great.
This is from
66.
1966. Yeah.
This had the Lamania movement, right?
No,
No,
had a
it's
Rolex movement. Rolex hand
a
wound.
Valjoux- it's a base Valjoux 72, so same as hand wound Daytonas.
Oh yes, sorry, I mean Valju, yeah, Valju, yeah. 722, right? 722.
722 is I think Rolex's name is 722 and the base is Valjoux 72.
Okay, I understand.
I find this much more legible than the
Yeah.
than the Daytonas with the bezel on. I find the bezel unnecessary. I find this much more classy looking, like the day dates, 36. I like the without the screw on pushers, the screw down pushers. I like that. I like the fact that it doesn't have screw down pushers. I just love it. I think it's a really nice. The fact that it doesn't have Daytona emblazoned all over it. It's just Rolex chronograph. It's nice and simple, but they're going for the same price. This is going for £53,000 at the moment. So you go for the same price as what you get a gold one for. So
Also to add a little bit of mythology into it, you can say if it's good enough for Clapton, it must be good enough for you as well, because Clapton himself had a pre-Daytona in his collection at a certain point, and it's this particular example. It's a 6034.
Anti-magnetic.
Yeah, which had this unique tropical patina on it that somehow fits. But honestly, I like both of I like both the 60 and 62 pre-Daytona references. It's in a way, I think I prefer them with the black dial, because it's that gilt dial, where this dial fixtures kind of shine in negative relief.
right.
And I like that, but the silver looks very distinguished and maybe a little more versatile, a little more of a classic, whereas the black, if you can find it in a good condition, would be a little more sporty.
Yeah, I like the silver because I can see the hands on it a bit easier. the black. You got a black line down the hands, so I find it a little easier to distinguish your time on the hands. A little easier to read.
You know, Lord, both of the watches you're displaying are legible. Even this one is legible, despite the dark background. It's a legible watch. This one is legible, and actually is very reminiscent of the Zenith, the latest chronograph, the limited edition they have produced. It seems that Zenith is copying a little bit of the old Daytonas, but they're legible. The more recent iterations of the Daytona are not very legible, and that's I think is a challenge. But the other thing is, Thomas, that I think most people wear it for the fashion statement.
Yeah.
Or the statement in itself.
Yeah.
Rather than, I think when I was in my late 30s, early 40s, I used to look at my watch very frequently. And when I got into my mid 40s, less frequently. I only look at my watch at night. Well, I think my black GMT needs to be luminescentized. There is no English word, but it has to be fixed. But that's the only time I look at my wristwatch. It's at night. During the day, I just look at my phone. So I think most of us are just moving into this statement. You collect for yourself. So you wear the Daytona for yourself. And just to what Saad said about the center links, I've seen women being the most punishing on these center links and scratches on Daytonas, full gold Daytonas, which they don't really care. Of course, you know that Daytonas, the precious ones, are worn really more by women than men. I can tell you these are the numbers I know, so that's clearly the case. But they're abused by a lot of people. So unfortunately, yeah, to Saad's statement, the oyster is very punishing. And I think the president bracelet is less punishing and more kind of long lasting. But look at this beautiful dial. I mean, it is legible even if it doesn't have any luminescent indices. Yeah.
The brown one has one advantage over the other one, is that it is waterproof.
Well, it's only got plexiglass. It's I don't know if it's that waterproof.
But if you see, that has oyster written on the dial.
Yeah. I don't know that it's that waterproof.
I mean, look, if you're getting a chronograph from late 50s and 60s, even as an everyday wearer, and I think they can be worn every day. I mean, I wear this since I got it. I wore it, very often, maybe every other day, because I also get lazy about readjusting everything. As much as I enjoy it, it can be an hassle. But yeah, I mean, you still have to baby them a little bit. You can't treat a mid-century chronograph, a vintage chronograph, the same way you treat a contemporary sports watch. That's for sure. But minimally speaking, I think it should be able to take you through your everyday activities. I mean, it won't take in your sweat as moisture. You don't have to necessarily take it off while you are washing your hands or doing dishes or something.
Yeah. I mean, this is gorgeous. This is like a tobacco sort of color, isn't it? This tropical dial.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, the simple, I mean, there's nothing simple about it. It's a gorgeous watch. But if we can black dial example of the 6234 or 6034, I think that could be, a lot of times you will see them tropic, so it's not so easy to find. Let me see if I can find one on the on Chrono 24. So we have a point of comparison. Ah, okay, I found one. This is not a gilt dial, of course, but still looks pretty beautiful.
Yeah, you see, I find that really hard to read. Even with the loom on the hands.
Yeah, I can't. Exactly. I can't read that. Yeah.
The looms look so new on this dial.
Yeah,
Mhm.
not sure if it's just well preserved, because the case itself also looks quite sharp. So it might be
Yeah.
Yeah.
something tucked away and well preserved, and it might be something that has been refurbished. It's hard to say simply on a computer screen, unless the ad says anything about it. Um, yeah, it doesn't at least admit any funny business. It says, oh yeah, it does actually. It was serviced by Rolex in 2012, who cleaned the dial and replaced only the pushers.
Oh.
Clean the dial probably means that Rolex somehow
Yeah.
refurbished.
Replace the hands
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Clean the dial means good luck. The
Yeah,
the the watch lost its precious value.
yeah,
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
that's too bad.
How much are they sell? Oh, price on request. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Probably
little bit of
probably about $50,000.
yeah. I mean, I have rarely seen the black dial versions in a kind
Mint
of
condition. Yeah.
used condition. I mean, look, for example, this is another gorgeous one, and
Wow,
I think the patina is amazing too.
that's stunning.
But you know, it's not pristine. I think
that-
you know one thing I want to see in all these vintage inspired creations, someone has to do this sort of tobacco slash burgundy slash maroon dial chronograph. I think that could be a great hit.
Yeah, I've seen this color dial in vintage Longines before as well, and also the original OT's got a good point. The orientation of the text in the subdials makes all the difference, and especially a small subdial like this, petite subdial, it makes it much more legible. Definitely.
Mm.
This is beautiful. This one.
And Thomas, how were these dials made? I mean, the text written, was this through stencils or something? How was this printed?
I'm not too sure, sir. To be honest with you, I would imagine it'd just be printed on however the factory went about it. I don't know whether it's stenciled on or just printed on with a machine, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I like the applied indices, they're nice.
Mm.
I, I, I don't know how inaccurate these watches will be out of the factory. But if you remember, when they used to issue these watches, they used to give the certificate which had proper, chronometer timing written on it, plus minus seconds, proper calculations. What is it called, Lord? COSC, right?
COSCS,
Yeah,
cost, or you know.
Oh,
yeah.
Boston Collector's saying that some of the older references were hand painted on the dials, which is interesting.
Mhm.
That almost seems to have a domed crystal. Doesn't it, like a bubble crystal?
Oh, it is. I think it's a domed acrylic in this particular
Right.
case. This is a 6234 with a patinated black dial.
Beautiful.
And I also like that the chronograph seconds hand centrally deployed is heat blued. So that's a nice little contrast as well.
Nice. Really nice. Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful piece. Nice. I'm so glad that Thomas, you brought up these 4-digit pre-Daytona Rolex chronographs. It's certainly a beautiful world onto its own, and in a way, uh, they're not necessarily a value proposition, like you said. A lot of them sell for 40, 50, 60,000 and more, especially in good condition. But I think numerically, they are much more rare than even the Paul Newman dial configuration based
Yes.
on
Yeah.
4-digit references. So, they're always going to be collectible for vintage Rolex enthusiasts for that reason. And in certain ways, like you said, they have aspects, historical, visual, horological, that might even make them preferable to certain Daytonas.
Yeah, I mean, with the anniversary coming up next year of the Daytona, maybe not the 70th anniversary, but for one of the anniversaries, a big anniversary, I think Rolex, I know that they don't do reissues, but they need to do a reissue of the pre-Daytona for a Daytona anniversary. I know it's not in their, it's not in their ethos to do reissues for Rolex.
It sounds a little counterintuitive too, Thomas, that
Yeah,
they would make a non Daytona for a Daytona anniversary.
yeah, it'd just be so nice to see something without a bezel on it, without and without the screw down pushers. Brodow was just bringing up a point. The pusher looks like it's coming from a Speedmaster. Does it? Can anyone say more about this movement?
It's Rolex's version of a Valjoux 72. Over the years, they have used it and modified it and updated it for their chronograph movements until they have taken on Zenit El Primero caliber 400 for a self-winding chronograph.
That was in the 80s. Yeah.
88 for their 16520 Daytona. So that's a Valjoux 72. I think the pushers themselves, the way they look, has very little to do with the movement. The placement might, but I wouldn't expect a correlation based on how the pump pushers look. But yeah, it's a Valjoux 72. as you can see here as well.
Thomas, I was once offered a Rolex 4500. Are you familiar with that reference number, 4500?
I'm not sad. No, enlighten me.
Yeah, it's also a chronograph, and I did then posted few photographs of it on for Rolex that Rolex forum, but unfortunately somebody had modified the bridges and few,
Oh,
uh, yeah, things on the movement. So um, they told me not to buy that watch. So this, movement reminds me of that photograph. It's still available on the internet. I posted that, uh, but that was very, very. I think maybe 10 years back.
I think basically that's a
This is
two
it.
register.
This is the 24500. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a two register chronograph by Rolex, so even predates the pre-Daytona, and it has a Valjoux movement inside it, but if I'm not mistaken, it's Valjoux 13, which is what was used in, for example, Patek chronographs before they switched to Lemania CH27. So Patek's chronos before 1463 had Valjoux 13 base, which is the same as this. As you see, the architecture is similar. Valjoux 13 is basically the predecessor of Valjoux 72.
So if you can Google SAD UK Rolex 4500, you might find photographs. It's not important, but I just wanted to share that. Yeah. SAD UK is just one word, and press on images. I
There-
think the image is not coming. You have to go press on Google Images.
Let's see.
Yeah, the second one, which has, person has this one. This one, all these three pictures. Yeah. So this was the watch which I was offered, and then they
right.
told me that, yeah,
So they told you what, sad?
they told me that this had, some modifications done in the movement, which had, ruined the value of the watch. So don't get it. I was very much interested. I thought, if I get this is a pre-Daytona type of thing. Maybe in the future I will, have something of high value. But
Hmm.
if you get something and which is vintage, but it is modified, then it's piece of garbage.
Um, Professor, would you like to speculate on this particular question in response to this question? Speaking of anniversaries, next year is Submariner's 70th. If they do something good, perhaps it will need to be my first sub.
Okay.
Speculation on the Submariner.
I will.
Will it,
I will
the
speculate. I will speculate. I think in times of austerity, it will behoove Rolex it will behoove Rolex to release a stainless steel anniversary edition like they did for the 50th, which has gone down in history as the Kermit, right? The stainless steel Rolex Submariner with the green aluminum bezel. I expect them to do something like that, like a subtle, maybe with with a different color of bezel that they have not yet offered in the stainless steel range. Maybe something like a maroon colored bezel, that has both a kind of vintage inspired association, because they have already done the so-called Starbucks, right? And which replaced the Hulk, and which is a green bezel Submariner in stainless steel. They have eliminated the so-called Smurf, which had the blue bezel and blue dial, and have a Cookie Monster that has the blue bezel. I don't think they will want to replicate that as stainless steel. So if they do stainless steel, I think it will probably be just a bezel or something, and possibly like a maroon, maybe. Or they might just go all the way and introduce something in platinum and in an exclusive. But I would think they would wait for the 75th or something like that.
I think you're right that something special is only going to come on the 75th anniversary. I think the 70th is a bit too early, maybe. You and Boston Collector and yourself have got it right. Maybe could be platinum.
I mean, I don't know. We are like, again, I don't have any insider knowledge. I'm purely speculating. I don't have anything specific. I almost know for a fact that they will do something special, because I don't think they will skip the 70th, but what they will do is just a matter of speculation.
Yeah, platinum would be good, and also, I mean, they've brought out the Deep Sea Challenge, haven't they, in titanium? And there's been speculation about titanium Submariner for I can't remember how long, but will they bring one out? Won't they bring one out? And could be the time, possibly, but maybe not.
One thing I would like to ask from the panel, starting from the professor, is that what things do you like about the Submariner, and what things do you don't like about the Submariner?
Okay, thank you, Saad. So let me begin with the question on the anniversary. Just because it's the 70th anniversary doesn't mean that they'll do anything. And just because they did the 50th doesn't mean they will do one in the 70th. And remember that be mindful that the cycle is, they haven't yet completed the cycle for the Starbucks. They do go through 12 to 13 years of cycle. And they don't discontinue one to produce something else. So it will have to be something unique, not at the time when most people expect them. So it could be that they don't do anything at all next year, and people are waiting, and it doesn't happen. Similarly, also to the GMT, everybody says there must be a Coke, but there might not be a Coke. And just because everybody says that there has to be one, they will not produce it. As well as just because they discontinued the black, they will have to produce a black. Well, they're not going to produce a black. I think the next iteration of all these watches will be something very new to the bezel and the construction of the watch, because now it has completed 13, going into a 14th year cycle for the GMT and the Submariner. And I think it's reaching the end of its cycle, the GMT and the Submariner as we know it. So, something new has to come. Now, there are two challenges. As Lord said, we are in difficult times. So, do they produce a massively wanted watch, which is steel, or do they produce a massively wanted watch for the very few? I mean, it's already difficult to get a steel piece. Why don't they produce it in a very precious metal? I don't think platinum will be it, because I think they want to maintain the platinum for the Daytona and the day date. I think the day date will maintain its cycle. I think what is becoming certain, to me at least, is that both the Daytona Platinum and the Daytona seem to be running out of another cycle. And I think the one that will go first will be the Platinum. And then the Daytona will go through its next iteration. But we're still probably 4 years away from that, I would say. So
Yeah.
will there be a Submariner next year? Maybe the year after. But if they do one next year, it could be kind of one and done for the very few, where everybody's going to say, "Wow!" There's going to be a lot of noise. Nobody will be able to attain it, like what they did with the Platinum Day date. I mean, nobody's gonna. Very few people will get that watch. One, very expensive. Two, you need to get a special order, and good luck with that. Now, the Submariner, what I like and I don't like, very quickly. Um, I think it's a very utilitarian watch. It can be a one and done. You buy it, you get it, you wear it. Of course, I prefer the no date because I like that purist approach. But then the date is very nice if I get it at the price of the AD. What I don't like, there is one thing I don't like, which is that it's too popular. Everybody wears it, from the
Yeah.
guy who makes shawarma to the guy who makes millions and billions. So you got the shawarma guy, and you got
Please, no disrespect for traditional Middle Eastern.
no. I like it. I like souvlaki. I'll call it
Shawarma,
souvlaki.
souvlaki,
Souvlaki. I'll call it
falafel,
souvlaki.
couscous.
You know,
Morocco. Morocco may be a
No, no,
limited,
no.
but they still have
He's very right, actually.
biryani. They still have
no
the
biryani. I haven't seen, but I went to a kiosk. Many years ago, and I was wearing, guys, a very nice Yachtmaster, the platinum dial. Okay, and I was very proud. I got the watch, and I go to buy cigars. I wanted to smoke a cigar, Lord, many years ago. I was a cigar smoker, and I look at the guy at the kiosk. He was wearing the same watch. I said, "How can it be?" I,
Professor, just to lighten up the mood and share another anecdote, maybe that will put this in the context a little. I remember some years back when I was living in Koreatown in Los Angeles. On the verge of Koreatown, there's also a beautiful and more recent neighborhood called Little Bangladesh, because there are a lot of South Asian and especially Bangladeshi immigrants who have taken up residence right there on the edge of Koreatown in Los Angeles. And there's a great restaurant called Biryani Kebab House.
biryani kebab.
And that
Nice.
was the owner of that place always wore a Rolex GMT Master, which I thought was a great watch, and I appreciated it, but I never said anything to him. One day I see he was wearing his, and this was my only sighting of someone double fisting Rolex in a non-watch event related context. So he was wearing his stainless steel GMT Master on the left and Bluesy on the right.
Right.
I have to say something. I said, boss, you are wearing not one, but two Rolexes. Are you crazy? Someone's gonna jump you or rob your store. And he got a little embarrassed and a little shy about it, but said finally, I have some guests in the house and I had nowhere to really stash it away where it would be safe. So I had to wear both of my Rolex out today. So you would be surprised whether, and that's the beauty of Rolex as well. For a non-watch person, that Rolexes are still in many ways the ultimate status symbol. If he wants to get himself that watch to say to himself and to people around him that he has arrived or that she has arrived, and hey, let's go all the way, since we're in year 2022, that they have arrived, people get a Rolex watch. And this kebab house owner, who actually has a great restaurant, by the way, it's very well reviewed and well liked in Los Angeles, and now I think it has 2 spots, not 1. So he's doing pretty good for himself, enough to say that he has at least 2 very nice Rolex watches, which he was double fisting on that particular day.
Yeah, I have a friend, by the way, very quickly, who I have to tell you, he's a watch collector. He's a bit mad because he wears 3 watches on the left and 3 watches on the right. Yeah, he's completely mad. He can afford it. He's very wealthy and he loves watches, and he wears on the left Vacheron. This is the favorite brand of Saad, Vacheron.
Yes.
And on the right, he wears Patek. So he goes out 6 watches. And I tell him, hey, man, listen, I don't know. Have you realized where we are and what we're doing? And, and he says, look, I don't care. I have the watches. I want to wear them and I want to go. Sometimes he wears a clock. He has a clock. And he wears I mean, I'm telling you, he's a dear friend, but he has a clock. It's a Russian-made clock, and it's gold-plated. I'll take you to him one day, Lord. You will enjoy. And his house is full of clocks. Cuckoo clocks.
Is your friend called Flava Flav or?
He comes from a family of his family produces cookies. He's a very wealthy cookie guy, so I call him the cookie guy.
Wait, he's from the Middle East or Greece?
He's Greek.
Okay.
He's Mr. Cookies in Greece, and it's a typical Greek name, and he's Mr. Cookies, and he walks around, long hair. Hey, how you doing? Hey, man, what's up? Let's have coffee. And I said, what are you wearing today? $500,000 here, $500,000 here. Yeah, hey, it's okay, Professor. Life is short. Let's enjoy it. But that's another way. I mean, the other thing about the sub, and I'll finish with this, so I can give the floor to my other panelists, is that when you wear it, or at least when I wear it, it doesn't feel anymore as being a watch. I feel it more when I wear the GMT, that it's a big watch and you feel it. And of course, it's the new iteration, not the older one. And you feel it more of a watch because of the complication. It's a little bit thicker, and I'm more at ease wearing that than the sub. And the sub is just a very blunt watch, very kind of plain. Whereas the GMT, at least it has a complication. And since I travel a lot, I use it. I find it handy, and it's kind of a one and done as well. But the sub, it's kind of there, but for me, not there anymore. That's
Yeah,
all.
interesting. I was just going to say about what Broad Arrow said. Not Blood Arrow. Broad Arrow about the aluminium bezel would be awesome, and I've always been a fan of the aluminium bezels rather than the ceramic ones, and it'd be interesting, really interesting. This is I'm throwing this out there, which is never going to happen. But would Rolex put an aluminium insert onto a ceramic bezel like the Planet Ocean with the liquid metal?
I'll say a couple of things, and maybe then we'll go around the panel and get some last words. Look, I mean, it's very rare that I desire something from Rolex's current catalog with a yearning that's so, so feral that I have to get it, right? In fact, it has never happened, but once every so often there will be a model or two. But ultimately, what I came to appreciate about Rolex's contemporary offerings is the fact that they not only represent fresh takes on recognizable, iconic designs that are unmistakable. You can put a Submariner from the 50s next to a Sea Dweller from the 21st century, from 2022, and you will still see the family resemblance quite clearly.
Yeah.
They're both Rolex diver watches. It's unmistakable. And I like the fact that they are recognizable, but also something different. And to me, the ceramic bezel represents that exact thing. So, two reasons for me why Rolex would not and should not put out a Submariner or any contemporary watch with an aluminum bezel. One, and that's the easy way, and that's the commercial reason as to why they would not do it. Tudor does that already. They would not want to replicate that.
Sure.
If you want a Rolex vintage-inspired sports watch, and specifically a diver watch with an aluminum bezel, Tudor is where you should go. And I think, again, that's why I usually have my heart set more on, if I get a new watch that's put out there by the Virstoff Foundation, so to speak, I would rather go for a Tudor, like a Black Bay 58 bronze or something. But yes, from a personal standpoint, I feel there's something about the extant catalog of Rolex. When you go, especially even to the 90s, the watches just represent something different. They have a very different aesthetic. They have a very different feel than a Submariner.
Sure.
Even with the 14060, right? That's a very different watch than today's Submariner. So I would rather have them keep that distinction and not mess with it. I feel like today's Submariner
they've moved on. Yeah,
that are larger, that are a little more. I'm trying my best not to say anything negative, but they're a little more, showy than a tool watch inspired Submariner. I think
it's their jewelry, which is what Rolex are. Their jewelry, basically.
Yeah, an aluminum bezel would just simply look out of place. In the same way that a Jubilee bracelet can work with a vintage Rolex or Tudor Submariner. It's a different feel. It's a different aesthetic. Not everyone likes it, but it somehow works. Whereas a Jubilee bracelet on a modern Submariner, on a contemporary Submariner, to me is completely unimaginable.
Yeah.
And I've seen it once, and it looks disgusting.
I was going to say that maybe they were trollers and bring out a sub with a Jubilee. I just wanted to highlight original OC's comment and say that the simple but lazy move for the sub would be next year would be a white gold and swap out for the blue bezel for a green one. So a white gold ceramic, basically. I think that's quite a good comment. That could be a possibility, OC. Yeah.
So last words from the panel. Whether of a more general sort or kind of reflecting on the Submariner anniversary that is coming up in 2023 when the model will be 70 years old.
Just on the Daytona, I wish they'd start doing revivals for Rolex, but they're not going to do it. On the Submariner, I'd like to see a titanium Submariner one day. I would really like to see that. All other brands have now branched out into titanium. You've got Tudor, you've got Panerai, you've got all those sorts of brands, Breitling. I know Tudor are more jewelry than two watches now, but I think it'd be great to see a titanium watch. El Famoso Professor, your turn.
Yes. I think the Submariner is the most iconic of the watches. So I don't know what they will produce in the future, but I think the iteration in the future could be the bezel, and then the clasp. I think they're going to change the clasps going forward. And again, I would ask people to look at the Deep Sea Challenge as an iteration where we could see changes, as well as how it has unfolded with the Tudor clasps, because that is a way for Rolex to adopt some of its watches. For the Daytona, I really have no idea, because they seem to be stuck. I mean, right now they've done everything they could. They have produced a bezel that is quite stunning. The white gold and yellow gold models have not changed, and that I think is the next that is coming. Whether it's the ceramic bezel or something else will be interesting. Also, the bezels will have to be addressed in terms of their luminescence. That is something that I think it is there in the, not in the works, because Tudor does it, but in the cards. Whether they do it or not, it's a different issue. And I think the GMT, the clasp and the way it's presented on the lower side, the buckle, so to speak, needs to be addressed, because it now kind of lags the evolution of the clasp of the Submariner. It has advanced quite a bit, and the GMT seems to be stuck in this kind of era. Also, the bracelet for the GMT has not evolved since 2008, whereas the Submariner has clearly gone a notch bigger, wider.
Yeah.
And there is debate, I think, about, the GMT, although the case is kind of bulkier. Submariner assumes to be bulkier, but it is not. It's a gimmicky bulkness. In reality, it's the same watch as before, the 40 millimeter, but the bracelet has widened, and some people like it, some people hate it. whereas the GMT remains the same. And I think that needs to be addressed. I don't think Rolex likes to have, because again, it's a vertically integrated company, and here's where the economics of all this becomes clear: is that Rolex doesn't want to have too many horizontally integrated iterations. They need to be producing the same thing for everybody. So in a way, the Submariner makes a lot of money, like the GMT, because they just change the bezel. They put green, they put black, they put blue. The GMT, they put Pepsi, they put Coke. I mean, it's the gimmicky watch with, I mean, again, gimmicky meaning that it doesn't require a lot of effort to produce the same watch times, 100,000. And this is where companies make money.
I
I'm
love
sorry,
it.
I'm simplifying it.
You needed to warm up. It seems, right? You stayed in your corner the whole time, and then I wanted a closing statement. And
Yeah, I have to say something, guys. I could.
Corrado Galizia, I want to highlight his super chat before I pass it on to Saad for a final.
Thank you, Corrado.
Thank you so much, Corrado.
Great show, great panel. Thank you. And thank you, guys. If super chat is always an option, of course, but if you want to contribute, the information is pinned there in the chat. It is in the crawling ticker and the video description. And just to remind you again, Corrado is one of my most loyal supporters, also a patron on Patreon, which means that at the current rate of $10 per month, he's getting at least three links on a daily basis to great watch deals all across the World Wide Web. And those are links that not only present good value propositions, but also are usually focused, very topical. So they can be very informative and educational as well, because I group them in a certain way that brings watches that don't always get the spotlight together. And it opens a line of exchange, between you guys and me on Patreon, where I can advise you and where I can tailor some of those daily links and suggestions based on your needs, your aspirations, your yearnings for your next great watch. And that rate will increase. I'll probably start providing some additional service for it, but if you sign up now, you'll be grandfathered into whatever else I need to offer. But part of it will be always these suggestions for value propositions that you can find online, and I think it's a great service. It's still a great value, and if you join in now, you'll be able to enjoy it on the same monthly rates. All of that being said, again, thank you everyone for your presence and support. And I want to thank my panel, specifically Saad, with the breadth and specificity of knowledge that he brought onto the panel with the day dates. El famoso professor again, who was perhaps freezing, but has quickly warmed up and gave us a great dissertation at the very end. And Thomas, of course, who has brought our attention to Rolex's great tradition of chronographs that extends well beyond and well before the Daytona, with such important references as 6034, 6234, 6238, all these wonderful Valjoux-based 2 and 3 register chronographs, including, of course, the 4500 that Saad brought up as well.
Are we going to quickly hear from Sad about the sub and the Daytona?
Yes, I know that Lord has very limited amount of time, so I will just point out two things that um, I think Rolex is overdue on the Daytona. It's already a 22-year-old watch technically. The movement is outstanding. The 4130 movement, it is flawless, no problems at all. It's very accurate. The reserve power is outstanding. But again, many people complain that the watch for today's standards is somewhat on the smaller side. It needs a little bit refinement for today's standards. So they need to upgrade this watch. And about the 70th anniversary or whatever it is called for the Submariner, I think they may, or I am not sure, but of course they can bring uh, green dial and green bezel edition of the Submariner in a precious metal. Maybe it is a bimetal or all gold version of the same. Thank you so much to all of you guys.
Yeah, I agree with Sad. The Daytona definitely needs to go to 41 millimeters at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna resist responding to that because I'm going to open another can of worms.
Worms, yeah.
It's a
I've gone 1 hour longer than I
Thank
should.
you.
I'll just link my video that makes the argument that Daytona is basically the most universal, most versatile, most unisex watch that Rolex has in its current catalog, and I feel like that would be great. It would be great if they wouldn't mess with that, but I understand the other point too. Junior Johnson, thank you again. Thank you, everyone, especially the
Thank you.
panelists, for their interventions
Yeah.
and contributions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to Corrado, Junior Johnson, Curly Q, Thomas Burnett /JL, and Dodger for the super chats as well. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow, probably in my evening time rather than midday, but who knows? This was very popular and very interesting. I get a different crowd, and I have a lot of fans actually from the UK, almost as many as the people I have from US. So I should do something more for you guys, and thank you for reminding.
yeah, Lord, maybe whilst you're in New York, you can do that, because myself and Thomas can jump on easily.
Yeah,
Because sometimes I have to wake up like five in the morning my time, and I'm like Dracula at my house. And kids are saying, where's Dad going? Oh, I'm going to talk about watches now.
Yeah, thank you. I must ditto that. It's much appreciated doing the stream at this time. It was a great time, and it was a great show. Yeah,
I'll try really, because I was hoping that I was really hoping that I would be less busy in New York, especially since I couldn't live stream every day while I was moving, that I would make up for lost time. But it's not turning out to be that way. But I will try my best. Maybe tomorrow as well, I might have a midday and a late show, but I'm not promising anything. But I will do my best from now until the 24th to put in as much work in as possible, so I can provide something for the UK subscribers and followers as well. I appreciate it.
And if Thomas and Sad can join tomorrow again, we can do the same, and if you guys are available.
Yeah, and I will.
It's great. You're great. Both of you are fantastic.
I always love mentioning that I'm a huge fan of Thomas. I love listening to him always, and from day one, I've loved, learning from Thomas. He's like a mentor to me. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank you, Professor and Lord.
Kind words, Sad.
You guys.
Thank you, Sad. Thank you.
Take care.
Next time, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.